Okay, so we're live. Welcome back to the Magic Minds podcast. I'm Matt Burke. Welcome to John Dillon Street, Dublin A, where I grew up as a kid. I said I was going to come back here and do a little intro. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about this in a second. Last week's interview was with Brian Penny. Cracking interview. Absolutely loved it. I loved it. It's like actually saying I love one of my kids more than the other, but I absolutely loved that interview. It was one of my favourite interviews. Probably my absolute favourite, to be honest, you know. But I do love all the rest of them. It wasn't by coincidence I have all those people on, but I loved them for a different reason. But this hit a lot of stuff for me professionally, personally. It just came at a great time in my life. It was lovely and I loved the interview. So if you haven't listened to it, get over there and have a listen to it. It was a cracking interview, and Brian is an absolute legend of a lad. I really enjoyed having him on. So look, here we are. We're at the back of the St. Nicholas of Myra Church. Francis Street is the front of the church. This is John Dillon Street. So this is a gate that I used to play football here. It's at the back of the church. I was actually an altar boy in the church as well. I think from about, say, 10 up to 12. Me and JC used to get on, but I don't think we're best of mates anymore because of something that happened. But I'll talk to you about that in a minute. I'm sure he'd probably forgive me if he's a forgiving type of guy. I'm sure he has forgiven me at this stage. So yeah, as I say, we used to play football here. Oh, so many memories. We used to play World Cup, heads and volleys. Then we used to make little camps at the back of the wall there, you know what I mean, when it was pissing rain. It was deadly. It's deadly. So yeah, I'll give you a little insight. As I said on Facebook, I was barred off my roads. So I was barred from the top to the bottom. They used to have a bit of a neighbourhood watch, but I'll give you a little insight to that. Things never kind of happened in ones and twos for me. I kind of always got myself into a lot of trouble. For anyone that would have known me, I was probably a little bollocks when I was a kid, but I think I've changed a little bit since then. Well, the way I see it is, right, I had stuff done to me, so subconsciously I didn't know that I was acting out, and that's what was happening. So I forgive my little self for it, and I hope people can forgive me and understand that I'm not the same person. And you too are not the same person as you were when you were a little kid. So sometimes we think people are still the same people as they were when they done something years ago. I'm not forgiving what I did. I'm not forgiving what other people have done. But we change, and people change, and you know we have to forgive ourselves. And we have to forgive other people. That's really important for me. I probably wasn't as like that a long time. I was pretty black and white, and I wouldn't have forgiven me if I was that same person. I'd be like, no, fuck him. He's just a little bollocks. But I see the world totally different now. But anyway, the story was I was in school and I thrown a banger into the teacher staff room. So I got suspended, and I started to go to the nightclubs at this stage. I used to go to the apartments, and my ma let me out. So I couldn't tell my ma that I was after getting suspended. So I convinced somebody that works up in Meath Street, an old lad, to go up to the school and pretend he was me dad to get me off with it. But he went in and obviously bottled it, and in there he told them he was me uncle. So they were absolutely fucking furious over that. They smelt the rat, and so I had to tell my ma. So she was going absolutely bananas over that. So that was strike one, and then strike two, just behind me up these steps there's a vault, and down in the vault is where all the parish priests, former priests or whatever, I think you have to be up some order to get in there, but they're all buried in there. And we used to play up there when we were kids, and we opened the vaults. Well, they were kind of, the bars were broken, and we got into them, and we went down. And to my recollection, I don't think I all went all the way down, but some of us did. Some did go down and went under, and obviously there was a big hoo-ha about that. They said that we tampered with the graves and all that, or the coffins, and no chance. That definitely didn't happen. I definitely didn't do it. It's not something I would do. I'd have been shitting back then. I'd be shitting now to do it. So that was strike two, and that got me into the newsletter. And my ma's mad for JC. She loves a bit of Jesus Christ in her life. So she was going bananas that I brought the family to shame, and I got her name in the newsletter. All of us got our names in. It was pretty tough times. I spent my life on grounded. I was forever being grounded, but I think I got the longest stretch in solitary confinement around then. And then also, strike three was the neighbourhood watch. They had a neighbourhood watch here, and I wasn't actually their favourite person in the world, and I got into it just over there behind the camera. I got into a bit of a fight with one of them. 13 or 12-year-old lad getting into a fight with a couple of grown men. But anyway, that brought it all to a head, and they came down to my ma's door, which is just down there, and they wanted me barred off the road. They wanted to speak to my ma, but I wouldn't let them talk to her, and I talked my way over. So we came to a bit of a peace agreement, a bit of a trade-off. I said I wouldn't be on the road anymore, so it was a kind of a chosen barred. So yeah, that's what got me exile from the road. We came to a peace agreement and said that I wouldn't be on the road anymore. I'm just randomly, this is 6 o'clock at night, and I'm filming this in the morning. I usually do them in the morning, but it's too dark now, and so just that I do it in the evening. So there will be people going back and forth. So yeah, the story is it. So it's barred off the roads. Sure, me and Doyle were already hanging around up at the statue a little bit more at this stage, and we were going to town, so it was grand, and that was kind of the end of the road then. But sure, look, it was amazing memories. As I say, it was an altar boy there. No problems with the priest, I have to say that. No problems at all. Actually, the first time I ever experienced a wig. There's the Garda car. Armed forces, actually. So this is one of the first times I ever experienced anybody with a wig. One of the priests, Father O'Byrne, yeah, he was a strange man, but he used to go around with a wig. It was the worst wig in the world. It was like a dead rat in his head. It was always crazy looking. He was a strange priest, but I don't think he was the worst in the world. Some of the priests were actually alright, I remember back. They weren't feckers, not like some of the brothers in the CBS that I went to. So yeah, that's my little history of John Dillon Street. It was an amazing area. It's still lovely. It's well sought after. As I say, there's lots to do around here. France Street Church. Brendan Grace was just at his burial mass here a couple of weeks ago, so it's steeped in history. So check out the Liberties, come around, have a view. Jovie Market's just up here. It's an old market that's there for years and years. It's been closed down. It's amazing. It had second-hand clothes, was food, was butchers, and it's been lying idle now for a long time. And you had Mother Redcaps just up beside it. So there's a lot of history in the area, you know, and it's sad to see those two actually iconic buildings just left lying dormant. It'd be nice to see them regenerate or something done with them. I think there's plans, but I don't know what that's all about yet. So yeah, it'd be nice to see those get a bit of a facelift. Another lady walking by. Okay, so the interview today is with Atulyamitra. Atulyamitra is a Buddhist Order member in the Dublin Buddhist Centre down in town that I've attended. I've done a course there in meditation. I went to the Sangha night, which is just the community that come together to meditate. I've been there a few times. It's just a lovely place to be if you're interested in meditation or you're interested in mindfulness and metta, bhavana, love and kindness meditation. They're just lovely people to be around. So I just had a feeling or calling or want to go there when I come back from Thailand. So I spent a bit of time as I done the course, and it was a fantastic course. And I really loved them. And while I was down there, I got to meet Atulyamitra. And I just said, you know what, I'd actually love to have her on the podcast. She just has a lovely way about her. She just has an energy about her. I just want to spend some time with her, you know. So yeah, she agreed to do the interview with me. So I was absolutely delighted to do the interview with her. On the interview, we just talk about our own journey. We talk about Buddhism, meditation, specifically metta bhavana meditation. That's something I really like myself, and I really try to practice more. Metta bhavana is love and kindness meditation. So yeah, it was an absolutely fantastic interview. Oh, we also talk about awakening and enlightenment, and I'm interested in all that. So yeah, it was a really fantastic interview, and hopefully you enjoyed this interview. I'll just flick me pages. I have to keep notes. I don't normally keep notes, as I said to you before, but there's so much external stuff going on that if I don't, I'll just forget, because I'll be too busy watching what's around me, and I'll forget what I was going to talk about. So yeah, look, that's it for now. That's the interview. Have a listen to it. Let us know what you think. As I always, want to thank our sponsors, Noel Riley from Rooney Media Graphics, Lisa and Sandra from the Shannon's Hope line, and then the Mental Health Warriors, Fran and Co over there. So check those guys out. If you need any graphic design, check out Noel. Mental Health is with Shannon's Hope line and the Mental Health Warriors. What else? Is there anything else? Yeah, always. I'm after getting incredible messages off people. I'm getting incredible feedback about the podcast. some constructive feedback as well from people, and I absolutely love it, and it's brilliant, and I can't thank the listeners enough for taking the time to text me or ring me, and also to give me stick. I'm absolutely getting caned sometimes about all the videos I'm putting on Facebook as well, but I don't care. It's all in service of the podcast, and it's serving the community. When I mean my community, I mean everyone that listens to it, everyone that struggles with mental health, everyone that's doing good in their own community or just interested in education. That's my community. So yeah, keep the feedback coming. I absolutely love it. It's absolutely deadly. One thing I will ask you to do is now think of something right now that you're grateful for, that you're thankful for in your life, and remember that. And then every day for now till next week till we come in again, I want you to think of something every day that you're grateful for. And I have found practicing gratuity, it changes my mindset and things. It automatically, I go now to what do I like about something, rather when I've always my autopilot used to be always miserable and giving out about stuff and that's a load of bollocks and blah blah blah. Now I'm always looking for what do I like about something, what do I like about someone, what can I find in this person that we could get on with. And so yeah, try it, practice gratuity. I like it, you might like it, and if you don't, that's cool, I totally understand. So that's it, that's for now. Have a listen to the interview, and as always, mind your little self, take care of you in service of your community and the rest of the world. Have a fantastic day. Take care, bye bye. Okay, so we're live. Welcome back to the Magic Minds podcast. I'm Matt Burke. On the show today is Atulyamitra. Atuli, pleased to meet you. I'm glad you're on the show.
Thank you, it's nice to be here.
Yeah, guys, we're down at the Dublin Buddhist Centre. I've asked Atulyamitra to come on the show to talk to us everything Buddhism, meditation, mindfulness, and anything else we can squeeze in along the way. So I'm super excited. Are you nervous about coming on the show?
Yeah, it's not something I do very often, yes.
Okay, right. We'll go easy. I know Aaron's here. Aaron's just here for the eye candy. He's the looks of the show. I'm absolutely delighted. I came here for a meditation course, and when I sat in it and you were the facilitator, I says I have to get her on the podcast. It'd be brilliant.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So look, let's start off. Tell us, what is Buddhism and where did it come from?
Well, Buddhism it's a set, I was going to say a set of practices, but it's more than that. It's a way of life that started with the Buddha over 2,500 years ago. A man who was on a spiritual quest became what we call enlightened, and as a result of that, Buddhism was born, and has developed, I suppose, over the 2,500 years in many, many different ways. The interesting thing about Buddhism is that although we're following the teachings of the Buddha, when Buddhism has moved into other different cultures, different countries around the world, it merges with the culture there. So it has grown and developed and become what it is today. But what it is today, there are many, many different schools and schools of thought and systems of practice. But when you go right back to the very beginning, it's all coming from the original teachings of the Buddha.
Does it get filtered down? Does it get diluted, or it just changes? And is that okay?
It changes. It depends on who you ask if it's okay, because it's like with everything. Some people can be quite dogmatic about what the teachings are, what they're not. Being a bit of a purist myself, I like to go back to the original teachings. And the original teachings, the core teachings, are the core teachings for all of the traditions of all of the schools. So to become a Buddhist, what we say is that a Buddhist is someone who is going for refuge to the three jewels being the Buddha, the Dharma, the Buddha being the person, the Dharma being the teachings, and the Sangha being the spiritual community of people that are following the practices and the teachings.
Wow. And I've been to a Sangha, and I hear that's kind of like the community. That was my first introduction to Buddhism. I just said I need to go and do, and I looked it up, and you have a Tuesday night Sangha meditation night, and there's a brilliant talk. I just got to listen to that guy that was outside. What's his name again?
Ridjimuni.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant, and he's got a great attitude, and he's quite funny.
Yeah, he is.
What are the principles of Buddhism?
The principles of Buddhism. I immediately think word principles or rules. There are no rules. There are invitations. So it's a way of life. We live by what we call precepts, which are they're undertakings. So again, there's different numbers of precepts. We start with 5, and some traditions have over 200. I forget the exact number. So if you become what we call a mitra here with the Triratna community, so here in the Dublin Buddhist Centre, for example, you would have 5 precepts, and they're ethical guidelines that we live by. When you become ordained to become a full what we call order member, you take 10, and they are ethical guidelines, but we take them as a vow as well, that we formally commit to trying to live by them as well as we possibly can every day. So the 5 precepts would be not taking life or not harming living beings. So that's where things like vegetarianism, that is often associated with Buddhists, comes from. And it's much, much broader than that, though. Not taking intoxicants, another interesting one. Speaking the truth, being skillful in sexual activity, so no sexual misconduct. I've forgotten one now. Oh, and mindfulness, and that's not the intoxicants, being mindful. Being generous, not taking but not giving.
Okay.
Is the other one.
Very good. Yeah, like you can, anybody across whether you're practicing Buddhism or just not anything at all, you could live by those rules, couldn't you, really?
Oh yeah, I mean, certainly before I came to Buddhism, I would have lived by them in different ways. I would have practiced Reiki, for example, and we would have had similar vows or guidelines that we would have lived by.
Oh yeah? A lot of people have the misconception that Buddhism is a religion. It's not a religion. It's more of a philosophy, right?
It is a philosophy. Again, there's debate as to whether some people will say it's not a religion, others will be quite firm that it is. I think the biggest thing is that we don't have a savior God. We don't have a God that we follow. The Buddha is not a God, and he's a man who gained enlightenment, which means that we too can gain enlightenment if we follow the path. So it's sometimes been called a way of life or a psychology. But again, there's always people who dispute that. It would be identified as a religion in that, for example, in the census, we would have identified ourselves as Buddhists under the religion question.
Okay.
But it's not a theistic religion.
Yeah, and sometimes that's I kind of had those notions a long time ago, and I loved the thoughts of Buddhism and the practice and love and kindness and the philosophy. But then I used to think it was a religion, and I'm scared off by religion. Like a lot of Irish people, sometimes maybe the Catholic Church, as oh no, I'm not going to get involved. Even when I've come down here and the chanting, I know we spoke about it. I was like, oh, I'm not getting into this kind of stuff, because this was in the back of my mind,
Again, it's coming from a different place. It's coming from one of the original teachings that everything else is built on is conditioned co-production. So what it means is that all things are occurring dependent on conditions. All things are being independent on on conditions. It's very, very complex.
Such as life.
As life is. So part of that will also mean that because we're saying that everything's dependent on conditions, we have to take responsibility for our own actions. Actions have consequences. And so although we don't have a God to save us, we don't have a God to confess to, what we do have is that we have a set of practices where we're actually taking responsibility for ourselves, and we live quite an ethical life, and there's all sorts of processes to do that within the system of practice. Mm.
Yeah, I think that the word religion kind of would scare people off.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, even with what some of the rituals that we have, there's a different way of approaching them. I would often say to people, if you bring mindfulness to whatever it is you're doing, even some of the ritual that we do, what you're actually doing is that you're setting up the conditions to move into a more positive mental state. So you're noticing what's going on as you're actually doing it. And that's very different to the automated behaviour that I know I would have done when I would have been practicing Catholicism. So I'm very, very aware of what's happening as I do it. So it's much more personal. And I notice the benefit of feeling better at the end of the particular ritual, which is always fun.
Fantastic. What led you to the path of Buddhism and practicing Buddhism? And I love the term practicing. Like when we done the meditation course, I'm practicing meditation. I'm practicing being mindful. I'm practicing being still. It just makes it easier. Kind of, it's okay to fail. What brought you down that road of Buddhism?
I would have been on a spiritual quest for many years, and I dabbled in all sorts of things, tried lots of things out, but nothing was quite hitting the mark. And then a sequence of events happened in my life, including a car accident, after which I developed a chronic pain condition, and my life became extremely difficult. I felt like I was losing all control. I'd had all sorts of ambitions about what was going to happen, and suddenly it was all in the air. Well, actually, it was no longer existent. And so, as a result of that, I came across a book which was actually a mindfulness-based book called Living Well with Pain and Illness by a woman called Burke. And I thought Vidyamala was a strange New Zealand name because it said that the author was from New Zealand. But actually it was a Buddhist name. So on reading the book, I decided that I was going to meet this woman and I was actually going to train with her. That was it. It was going to happen.
Wow.
It wasn't up for a negotiation. And it did happen. So I trained with Breathworks in England, and I met the original team that set up the organisation. And they were very, very particular that this was, I'll say secular, it was non-Buddhist. There was quite a firm boundary between their Buddhist practice and what they were teaching, on saying that what they were teaching was coming from their Buddhist practice.
Okay.
So I learned about suffering and the fact that there is suffering in life, but there's also an aspect to suffering called there's suffering that we can't change. So, for example, I live with a chronic pain condition. Can't change that. That is just what it is. But there's a secondary suffering or secondary experience, and with that, that's what I do with my primary experience. It's the thoughts that I have about it. It's how I'm perceiving what's going on in my life or in the moment. And so I began to realise that although I had this pain condition to live with, I was creating a huge amount of pain and suffering in how I was approaching the problem of the pain. And it was quite liberating for me. So at that point I resolved to look more into it, which as I say, it proved difficult because they were so particular about keeping that boundary around this was something that was being delivered to people with pain and illness, as opposed to recruiting people into a Buddhist movement. So I did the training in England. I came back to Dublin, found the Dublin Buddhist Centre, and the rest is history. I became more and more involved and it felt like I'd come home. And that's probably the best way of describing it. There was something about the people I met. So again, I now know that was Sangha, or community. The people they had a way of communicating with each other, that even when things were difficult and they weren't always, saying things that were easy to say, there was always there was something bigger going on, and this respect, and I've never experienced it anywhere else. So that was the reason why I wanted to become more involved. But also I began to realize that this way of life I was already feeling the benefit of it, particularly around the mindfulness practices, which are coming from the Buddha's teachings. So I arrived at the centre one evening and just said I was committing myself fully, and I wanted to be ordained, and the rest is history.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's fantastic. And has that training and the whole purpose and journey, has that really helped you manage the pain and separate it? Can people take something from that? It's a kind of like a two-tiered approach. One is the pain, and two then is your perception of the pain. And you can have both. You're going to have the pain anyway, but then you're hurting yourself. It's like worrying that I have a pain, and then you also have the pain.
Exactly. So it's there's different things. There's the thinking about it, but the more you become aware of sort of that mind-body connection, and I mean aware in the moment, physical way, the more you begin to realize that each time we're thinking, there's the body's tensing. There's something going on.
Where the mind goes, the body flows.
Yeah.
That was a Jason Brennan quote from a book. I'm hoping to interview him as well. So I'm quoting it. I'm name dropping.
You're dropping it in. So for example, you said that we've been laughing, so the sensations in the body are quite different in that situation. Whereas if we think about, I've got pain somewhere, what does that mean? Does it mean that there's something more serious going on? Immediately the body's starting to contract around the pain, because there's something natural that will happen when we have pain.
Yeah.
But if it's chronic pain, the body naturally will contract around pain because it's trying to protect an injured part. But if there's no injured part and there's pain, all you're doing is adding to the pain. So you've got the thoughts about it. You go, oh, thought, okay. But then you've also got contraction in body. Oh yeah, contraction. Okay, soften.
Wow.
So that's what you're constantly doing with bringing the mindfulness practices to, for example, pain management. So for me, that was quite liberating.
Separating the two, and I can relate to that because I used to, suffer. I still do anxiety, but I'd wake up in the morning to check if I had anxiety, and then as soon as I started checking, I had anxiety because I was anxious about being anxious, and then all of a sudden I fed the beast, and then it just became this cycle.
It's like they don't think of a pink elephant.
Yeah.
We instantly think of the pink elephant because we're trying to figure out what it is we're not supposed to think about.
That's gas, isn't it?
Yeah, Yeah, we're an interesting species.
Oh, you're okay. I'm faked. Let's talk about the meat and bones of what I loved about this place. Meditation. What is meditation? What is the difference between Buddhist meditation?
Buddhist meditation is training the mind. I think there are other practices, from some other, I'll say, traditions that I would be aware of. So you can have creative visualization. You can have practices maybe through hypnosis, which are, there's another debate in there. You have some of what I would call the more new age practices. Personally, what I would say about the practices are that they're all coming from a root of a much older tradition. And even Buddhist meditation, the Buddha was meditating before he became enlightened and therefore became the Buddha. The Buddha would be just, he was the awakened one. So what we're doing with the practices with the practices that you would have been learning at the centre, is we're training the mind to focus on what we're choosing to focus on. What we're also trying to do is in the process of doing that, we're moving ourselves into more positive mental states. So we've got, for example, the mindfulness of breathing, which is it can be a very wonderful practice for stilling the mind. I know personally I'll always do it when my mind is busy, because it is that just coming back to the breath. And then with the loving kindness, the metta bhavana practice, what we're doing with that is that we're bringing ourselves into a positive mental state of unconditional friendliness, unconditional kindness and love for ultimately all living beings. But they're both training. They're both training the mind.
Yeah.
It doesn't all just happen. It's not.
I love the quote you said here one day. What's meditation not? People think, it's this kind of superpower. It's It's quite simple. It's quite simplistic in its process, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, and it's not zoning out either. Which is another one that people think. Because sometimes they say if you looked at a group of people meditating, it looks like they're just sitting there doing nothing, but actually it's hard work.
Oh, like it's actually it's hard work to just stop, to turn off that internal filter, the monkey mind, the zoning out.
Yeah, and to be doing that with the patience and the kindness to that monkey mind, because the mind is just doing what it's designed to do. So what we're constantly trying to do is patiently come back again and again. So what we're doing there is that we're training the mind to focus on something, but we're doing it with kindness. So you've got both practices within just those steps. We're actually learning to be kind to ourselves in the process. And that's the first step of being kind to all living beings.
We find that really difficult, don't we? Being
We
kind.
do in our culture.
We're good. We're good for saying nice things to people. We don't really like getting compliments. But we, and then we try to compliment ourselves. It just doesn't feel right for some people, does it?
No, it doesn't. Because I've been doing this work for a long time. I would be a mindfulness teacher as well. And in our culture, we do find all of that very, very difficult. I usually start with, it's okay. Well, I don't think I'm doing very well right now, but that's okay. It's okay. And that's the first step, and we just start building from there until we reach a point where we can actually get on with ourselves most of the time.
And I've said this loads, and I wrap up on the podcast loads of times, and I say, be kind to you, be gentle to you, and you are gentle to the rest of the world.
Exactly.
Like if you're feeling rough and you're not being kind to yourself, the world is going to get it in the neck sometimes.
I love where I teach. I teach a lot of meditation, mindfulness in particular, out in communities, and often, particularly the mammies come back and they'll say that the teenagers or the partner will often sort of say to them once they've established a practice, you haven't meditated today. Look, you go on ahead and do it, and we'll do such and such. And the number of people who will come and say that, it's often women, but that's often because it's more women that come to the classes. And I firmly believe it's because not only does the person who's meditating feel better, but there's a knock-on effect on everyone.
Oh yeah,
because they come back in a more positive mental state.
It's a pebble in the pool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just before we move on to mindfulness, how do we get more males involved in this environment? More people, more men meditating. I've gone to the girl Louise meditation in my area in the Dublin A, and she's done a fantastic job. But it's predominantly all females, and I've seen huge benefit myself. Just being, although my meditation is not as consistent as I would like, my attitude has changed. I'm open to love and kindness. I'm open to looking after myself. How do we get more males involved?
A good question. You probably need to ask men that question. My thought on it would be that, is it more that men are a wee bit afraid that it is soft and fluffy, and it's not sort of macho. But then, when you look at things like the warriors, they would have practiced mindfulness. Samurai. The samurai, for example, if you take a look at the way they would have worked, their discipline would have been very meditative, and they were very good warriors.
Absolutely, but if you take away like the shrines and the bells and whistles, the practice is just bringing it back to you.
It's bringing it back to you.
Bringing it back to you, being the watcher of your thoughts.
Exactly. And it takes courage.
Absolutely.
It takes courage, and it takes that. There's a book out there called The Peaceful Warrior, and it is that sense of.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, I've never read it, so I can't say anything about it. But it's just the title for me would bring it back to it is about focusing on the mind. It is about you can only ever take responsibility for yourself ultimately. But you also need to have the courage to turn inward and face whatever's there. We have to turn toward all of those aspects of ourselves that we don't like. But the payoff is that we discover they're actually not as scary as we thought they were.
No.
And we become stronger, we become happier in ourselves, and we feel the benefit in the long run.
Oh, yeah, I have found that I always looked externally for the cures my problems, whether it be drink, drugs, living an unhealthy lifestyle, because I was running from my inside, and it's only when I start to appreciate that I could start looking after it. It's mad. Maybe we can rope Aaron to come to the Senga night. Aaron, would you come to the Senga night on a Tuesday?
Yeah, definitely.
Right, I'm gonna keep you to that. It's a meditation and there's a talk down there. We get more males involved.
Yeah, well, as I said, what drew me in more initially was Sangha. So there are a lot of men that come here.
There really is,
That's
and
interesting.
there's a lovely community here. There's a lovely sense. It's a caring. Yeah, you're committed to going. It's on camera and it's on tape to hear. Deadly. Talk to us about the foundations of mindfulness, the 4 foundations of mindfulness. I have my notes here as well, so it's not a memory test.
I'm just going,
or even the core being of it, the principles of it, or the difference between that and meditation, that they go hand in hand. Mindfulness.
What I would say about mindfulness is mindfulness is something that we can do both, I would say, on the cushion and off the cushion. So we can do other types of meditation, for example, visualization, and we do have visualization practices in Buddhism as well. Mindfulness it's a mental state, or it's a state of awareness that we're bringing to whatever it is that we're doing. So therefore, it's something that we can actually do 24/7. Most of us actually don't, because it's theoretical that we can. So we're constantly bringing attention to whatever we're doing in any given moment. That's the first step. And then what we're learning to do is that the broader sense of mindfulness is that as we're doing that, we're also bringing in the sense of where we're coming from and where we're going. So what it is ultimately that we want. So for example, for me, ultimately my practice is taking me toward enlightenment. So in any given moment, I'm thinking about what it is that I'm thinking or feeling or doing in that moment. But I'm also aware of the others around me and the effect that it might have on them around me. And ultimately, there's also a sense of, is this moving me forward to that positive mental state? Or, as I say, ultimately toward enlightenment. I can't reach enlightenment until I'm in positive mental states.
Wow. How do I've become more aware of how much unconscious I have become in everything I do. Like when I'm eating my dinner, I'm looking to text. When I'm washing the dishes, I'm thinking about something I did on the job today. And now I'm going, how present am I? And I'm probably, 90% of the time drifting away, 5%, 10% I'm here. And I've now I'm frustrated with that. I'm like, oh, come on, be present. But I'm not actually being kind to myself by even saying that. How do we improve on that?
We just keep doing it. I often, when I'm teaching it, I'll often say to people, when you notice that you've drifted, just recognize that you've drifted. Smile to yourself, and of course, it's okay. Oh, look, I've drifted. Isn't it great that I've noticed? Now come back to whatever it is I'm focusing on. So if you're in a formal meditation, coming back usually to the breath and the sense of the body. And if it is your dinner, coming back to the taste of this mouthful, the mouthful that's about to go in, or even noticing the movement of the arm to the mouth.
Yeah, like some days I'll be eating my dinner, I'll be texting, I'll be watching the telly, and I'll be probably thinking about something that happened yesterday or what's going to happen tomorrow. Have you mastered that to a better degree?
Yes.
To a better degree, okay.
I'm a few steps further on than I would have been 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I haven't mastered it. That's why we call them practices.
Back to the practice.
Back to the practice. Back to the practice. Yeah.
So what I do say to myself is like, well, look, at least you're aware of it.
That's
You're not caught up in the subconscious world. I sometimes come out of it, and sometimes I drift back in, depending on my.
That's the human condition. That's what we do. So, yeah, particularly in the early days, what we're doing is we're patiently recognizing and coming back over and over again. And what happens is the more we're doing that, we're actually creating new habits. We're creating new ways of thinking and being. And we're creating new neural pathways. And we are actually bringing changes to the brain and the way that we're working with it, as well as with the mind.
It's very obvious, and when if you had a stressful event in your life, you had an argument with somebody, you can see how caught up, like hours and hours go by. And I found by going, let's come back to the breath, let's come back to the now, it gave me that gap between, that space, that like that, and there's a space between, and there's no worries there. Then all of a sudden I go back, and then I come back.
Yeah, and that's it. So we notice, oh look, that the mind has gone off. We're back into the storyline. We're back into all of that mental proliferation, that papancha, as we call it. And then we just recognize, oh yeah, that's where I am. Okay, but right, back now. Okay, back to the breath. So what's happening right now? What else is going on here? I'm feeling the body in contact with the chair. I'm feeling the feet in contact with the blocks in my case. I'm just noticing all of that. I'm noticing the breath. And even in the process of doing that, the more we do that, the more the body goes, oh yeah, we're back into that calming mode. And if we bring the attention to the out breath, the body will calm. If we're getting too drowsy, what we can actually do is bring our attention to the in breath, and the energy will move up.
Wow. Yeah, it's becoming the watcher of it, isn't it? Just keep bringing it back. One thing I did find was grounding was the breathing, but then it's also walking barefoot, whether it be in grass or out in the concrete. My girlfriend thinks that everyone in my neighbourhood are going to think I'm bonkers, but they already do.
Yeah,
so
doesn't matter.
It's cool.
It's good bonkers.
I go out with my dog and I just take my stockings off and I walk the streets. They're probably going, that fella's nuts. Well, he's getting more nuts, Let's talk about my favourite meditation. We touched on it a little bit earlier. Metta bhavana.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? Are you a big fan? I'm a lover of it.
I'm a big fan. I know the power of it. I will admit that initially I want to tell everybody how good it is, but I was avoiding doing it myself.
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, and I do know that partly that was because I knew how powerful it was, and I was just a wee bit afraid to go there. I, at one point, would have done it as a practice. I made a conscious commitment to do it every day, and I did it every day for 2 years. And the power, the change that happened in that time was quite remarkable. It's very hard to say what happens with it, but it's like we begin to see others in a very different way. We begin to recognize the shared experience in one another, and even if someone's annoying us, that actually ultimately they're doing what they're doing because they want to be happy and free from suffering, just like us, or just like me. It's just they're doing it in ways that I may not approve of, but ultimately we're all just doing the best that we can.
Yeah.
And the Metta bhavana, I think, brings us to a natural place of recognizing that. It's almost like our heart recognizes it rather than our mind is telling us the story.
I was hooked on it when I listened to Jack Cornfield, and he brought Love and Kindness. I listened to a YouTube video, and I was like, think of someone that you know. I did straight up. I started with someone that I love, like my daughters, and I brought them and I visualized them sitting in the bed. I was nearly like a drug. I was addicted. I was like, this is lovely. I absolutely love this. But then when we came down here, you guys switched around and said you have to love yourself and give yourself love and kindness. So the principle, my understanding was one, you offer love and kindness to yourself. 2, then you pick a loved one. 3 is somebody that has no influence in your life, somebody in the shop or people you pass on the bus. And then the 4th is somebody that you have a disagreement. I know you said here
the enemy, but
That's
that could be a bit,
traditional.
it could be a bit strong for people because you bring someone forward. But something that can be really irritant that's happened in your life present, not too graphic or
Exactly.
disturbing, and then you offer kindness to all those people then together as well. Is that's the practice, isn't it?
It is. And the reason that it's done in that sequence is the originally, because it's coming from a tradition where people don't dislike themselves in the way that we in the West do. The idea is that we're moving from who we find it easier to be nice and kind and friendly to unconditionally love, and we're step by step moving towards those that are more difficult, and ultimately the whole world, or actually all living beings in all 10 directions to be.
Yeah, I have to say I picked a couple of people in work that irritated me, and not their fault, just because I was irritated by their actions because it triggered something in me. But by practicing love and kindness and bringing those into my meditation and thinking about them, I stopped dehumanizing them. Just like you said, they have struggles. Like I think about stuff that's going on in their family that I know or whatever, and I go, do you know what? I wish them well. I wish them love. I wish them kindness. They are irritating, but I'm sure I'm equally as irritating. But that's okay.
I remember having, when I was doing it for the 2 years, a point came where somebody did something that really annoyed me, and I was quite. Well, the interesting thing was, I felt like, or I thought that I should be very angry with this person, and I was trying to bring up the anger, but all that kept coming through was compassion for them, and that was when I realised, wow, this is a powerful practice.
Really?
Yeah, it was really, really interesting. I mean, I didn't condone what they had done, but I recognised that there was a whole lifetime of a story that was behind why they were behaving the way that they were, and I just saw it in a completely different light. So yeah, it's an interesting practice.
Oh, I think it's beautiful. And it probably is soft and fluffy for some people, but hell, it feels good in here. Like it feels really good. It feels like the right thing to do.
Yeah, no, it's not. I know there's a quotation from Sangharakshita, who would have been the founder of the Triratna order and movement, and he says the metta bhavana is not a kindergarten practice. It's actually a tough practice to do, because we are asking ourselves to step up and to actually love and care about others in a heartfelt way, unconditionally.
But also opening up a vulnerability, because I felt like I was being vulnerable, going, do you know what, I want love and kindness, because I had to admit to somebody, this is not working for me, this can't happen, I need love and kindness in my life. I was like, wow, I feel exposed here. But I was being authentic to myself to say, I need love and kindness in my life. And that leaves you vulnerable, and people might find that a little bit difficult.
Yeah, it can. But ultimately, I suppose because you're doing it for yourself, it comes back to that sense of responsibility for self, that, you know, it's all coming from our own interpretation of the world and our own interpretation of our experience. So if I need loving kindness, well, what do I need to do for myself, within myself, to bring that here?
Yeah.
And then there's, so it's, for me personally at this stage, it's like loving kindness is just something that's there. It's something that's innate in the universe, and I'm tapping into it, and I'm getting the benefit of that. But then it's also radiating out. So I sometimes imagine it radiating out like ripples. Out into the world, but it can also be ripples in all of the directions. But it's like a feedback as well. It's also coming back. So it's complex.
It is, and life is complex. For everything just down to complex. And one thing was brilliant on the course that we done here. We talked about the distractions to meditation, distractions to mindfulness. I think they're quite apt to anything we do in life. There's distractions. Can we talk about those?
Yeah. The traditionally there are the distractions or the hindrances to meditation. But what's really interesting about them is that the more you get to recognize them when you're meditating, the more you begin to realize that actually you're doing them pretty much throughout the day as well.
And that was such a learning for me, because when we spoke about them on the course, and I was thinking, this is avoidance, this is anxiety, this is sloth and poor, whatever, torpor. They just come up all over the place.
I mean, a sloth and torpor would be the one that I would do. A sloth and torpor really just means it's like a sleepiness or a heaviness in the mind and the body. And I certainly have recognised that was my go-to one. Whenever I wanted to avoid something, I'd just go to sleep.
Yeah.
Really meditating.
So what's the first one? Is avoidance and
there's restlessness, irritability. So there's that just fidgety, just feeling like you should be somewhere else, not here. So there's that one. The sloth and torpor, which is the tiredness, the sleepiness, the heaviness. There is sense desire, which is an interesting one, because that can be just about everything and anything.
That's me. Oh, I'm dreaming, what I'm going to do tomorrow, what I'm going to have my lunch, what will I say to this person when I meet them.
I designed the ideal meditation cushion regularly as well. Whenever the meditation cushion gets uncomfortable, I'm off. And that's sense desire, because I'm just imagining what it would be like if the body was comfortable. Again, I've gone blank.
Ill will.
Ill will. Yes, it's interesting. I forgot that.
Yeah.
Ill will ill will can be that we start to get into the storyline of the shoulda, woulda, coulda, they said, she said, he said, or it can be ill will towards ourselves too. This is I'm useless at this. I shouldn't.
Absolutely. 2 days after I'd done the course, I was doing the yoga, and I go, no, I'm brutal at this. I should just stick to this, lifting weights. I'm better at that. Oh no, good. Why would I be doing this? And I went, aha, this is what happened in the meditation course the other night. I was like, this is crazy.
That's exactly it. And there's an overlap there too, because doubt's coming in there, and doubt can manifest as, well, is this really working? Well, am I any good at this? Or, that teacher, I'm not too sure about the teacher. Maybe I should have signed up for such and such instead.
I did this all the time.
I don't know, a dressmaking class, maybe, whatever.
Yeah.
So that would be doubt as well. But we're doing it constantly in everything that we do, and it's really funny when we begin to notice it. We do develop a sense of humour with the practices as well.
Yeah, I have. It was a great learning for me, and I'd be watching going, I'm in sense and desire here, or I'm in ill will, or or anxiety and restlessness. Sometimes predominantly would be in ill will, more desire. And then I'd bounce into, if I'm not good at something, I go straight into ill will. Oh, you're not good at this. Opt out. Yeah, and I was nearly giving up yoga. And then I was like, no, I'm going to stick this out.
We can be so good at beating ourselves up. And then we can be very good at, as I say, thinking about how bad everybody else is in the world. So that's ill will in all sorts of ways.
Absolutely. Well, I meant to share a story with you about when we were talking about love and kindness. I came down here to meditation, to the Sangha night, and I was like, running down here to meditate, and it was a guy was trying to talk to me, and I was like, judging him. I was like, will he ever shut up? He doesn't stop talking. I'm down here to meditate. I'm going to do some serious meditating. This guy won't stop annoying me, blah, blah, blah. And then I was watching myself, because I've been watching myself the last few years of judging people and going, stop, because I've got this unconscious bias sometimes, and I check in on. And after the meditation, he came up and said, wow, you really done well there. You really got stuck into it. And he gave me a bracelet. And I was like, wow. Like, I was judging this person, but yet they gave me love and kindness, gave me a bracelet. And I was like that is crazy. I couldn't stop thinking about it all night. I felt bad. But then I was being kind to myself and going, that's just something you normally do, but at least you're checking in and trying to get away from judging.
Judgment's interesting, because we naturally will judge, because we're constantly trying to judge if, this person belongs to my tribe or not, or this environment, is this safe, so there's always a sense of us judging things. But where it can, the thing about judgment also is that it separates us from one another, and ultimately what we're trying to do with the practices is to break down that barrier and to recognise that ultimately, we're all having similar experiences, and
I thought it was brilliant that he did that, and it was such a wake up call there for me. And look, you're there judging, he's just giving you love and kindness. and I came down here with the hope of doing a loving kindness meditation course. How apt is that, eh?
Yeah. Sometimes that's, again, it's back to that sense of perception, isn't it? And the stories that we're telling ourselves. So you had an expectation coming in here. You came in expecting loving kindness to be a particular thing, whereas actually it turned out to be so much more than you expected.
100%.
And sometimes, all of these practices, it's the small stuff that makes the difference. It's not just the teaching. Very often, it's the little acts of kindness.
It's the journey, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Can we talk about manifestation and consciousness? And I know we talked off the mic saying what's conscious, what's manifestation. Very similar to you deciding that you were going to go meet that lady.
Yes.
And it happened.
Yeah, well, it didn't just happen. I made it happen in some ways. But there was a sequence of events too. I was lucky in some ways. Manifestation is an interesting one. I mean, one of the things that we say is that all experiences is created by mind, perceived by mind, led by mind, so that we create all of our experience, but there can be a misunderstanding too that, certain books and films that were very popular a few years ago, where we, if I manifest, if I think hard enough and visualize strongly enough that I'm going to have a big mansion with a swimming pool, that is actually going to happen.
No, that's not, because I used to say I'm going to marry Hailey Berry, but I never left my bedroom. And I was really disappointed that she did not go with me mass and ask me out. So manifestation didn't work for me back then. So I think you have to leave your bedroom, and it has to be kind of realistic.
Yeah, we do have to take responsibility.
Yeah, and I used to check my phone. I was like, she didn't text. No.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my childhood. But yeah, no, it's about to me, manifestation is you have thoughts, you have actions, and you pursue them. You're obviously realistic, but you again, it's like putting one step forward on your journey. Yeah. Like when I made that decision, I want love and kindness in my life. I went to Thailand. I met a monk, Ram, and I met Home. He was my driver. He was a Buddhist. He practiced being a monk for 10 years. And that's where my life brought me and the experience, and it brought me here.
So manifestation in that sense. And I suppose from the Buddhist practices point of view, ultimately what we're trying to manifest is positive mental states, so that we finally let go of greed, hatred, and delusion. And that's what we're constantly trying to work toward. Because that will be what enlightenment is the snuffing out of those, of craving, of the things that motivate us most of the time and basically cause our suffering.
Yeah. And that kind of segues into my next question, enlightenment and awakening. Yeah. When I first start thinking about meditation and all that, it was like I was looking for a higher power. I want to be enlightened. I want to be awake. Yeah. I feel like I am more awake and more conscious. My interpretation for awakening for me now is being the watcher of my thoughts, being watcher of not being present, and I'm becoming awake, that I'm not consciously living in a subconscious world.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, certainly what's popping in is those things would be insight with this, what we often say, insight with a small I as opposed to a capital I. So enlightenment, it can be defined in lots of different ways, and we won't really know it until we're there. It's much bigger than our mind can actually imagine. So all of those moments of insight that you have, imagining that in, I don't know, 100-fold, millionfold, whatever, that we no longer feel the push-pull of version of pushing things away because we don't like them, or we're trying to pull things towards us more and more because we do like them and we want more of them, that we can actually fully experience simply what is.
Wow, I love that. I just love that.
It would be wonderful, but as I say, until I'm enlightened, I'm not going to be able to tell you really what enlightenment is.
That's a great analogy, that push-pull, and we see it all the time. I want that, I don't want that, I want you, I don't want you, And I used to do that all my life. Oh, give me this, get rid of that, in, out, instead of just being. I do that with emotions.
Oh yeah, we're doing it with everything.
You know,
Absolutely.
oh, I don't want this emotion, I want this, and I'll chase this, or I'll get rid of that.
Yeah.
Now I just, whether I'm having a state of anxiety or depression or whatever, I just say, this is what it is, it won't last.
That's
Just like when I'm in great form,
yeah.
it won't last.
So enjoy it, savor it.
Yeah, and I just tell that to people, like people going, oh, I don't want to be too happy because I'll probably be miserable tomorrow. And I was like, you'll probably be miserable tomorrow anyway.
Yeah, so enjoy what you're experiencing.
And that's something even I talked to my mum about, you know, when she had an injury or something, she said, oh, I don't want to start celebrating too soon.
Yeah.
I was like, man, just enjoy today because tomorrow you'll probably be in a hoop.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we do that, don't we?
Yeah,
we don't live in the moment.
Yeah, we don't, and we miss so much because of that. There's so much happening in any given moment, and because we're on that sort of that treadmill or that autopilot mode, we miss so much because we're constantly trying to push experience away, hold on to experience, or we want to be somewhere else than here.
Yeah, we're always trying to get out of the present by jumping into the past. It's like we stay on the horizontal. We're either down here or up here, but we never kind of stay here. It's just a little bit uncomfortable, isn't it?
It is. It can be for us. Yeah.
By being here, I think. Do you listen to Eckhart Tolle at all?
I haven't in a long time. I would have read him.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah.
He got me through some difficult times in life. His books and his attitude and his whole brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, he talks about being on a plane. You know, we're either in the past or we're in the future, but if we stay here, we can find a higher power.
Yeah. What we would say is that we can transcend. You know, that we can tune into or access that higher part of us, or that transcendental part of the mind. It's all so many of these. They're not the same, but there are similar.
Yeah, I think they're all in the same kind of ballpark. They're all about being present. They're all about being mindful of yourself, and it's brilliant. Speaking of mindful, on being mindful, that you've got to get a 6:30 bus. So we're nearly there. Tell us what's going on in the centre at the moment. If people want to get involved, what's happening? What happens down here? I know Tuesday night is the Senga night. What else can people avail of your amazing service here?
Okay, we probably need to stop right now because I need to get the classes because there's a new round of them starting soon.
Yeah, go get them. Yeah, just come back. We'll edit that out. No panic.
Yeah,
good. Remember that we're on the 54th minute. What do you think?
Pretty good, yeah.
Dead, isn't it?
Okay, so where are we? Well, there's actually lots going on. We have Buddhist Action Month at the moment, so there's lots of activities as a result of that because we're all taking lots of action. So there's on the 22nd, there's a Writing for Transformation workshop in the afternoon. We have an outdoor meditation on Sunday the 23rd. There's a special group called the Sub-35s, and it's a specific Buddhist group for people under the age of 35, hence its name.
So you're telling me and Aaron, because we're under 35.
You can go to that, yes.
Yeah, I'm not. I've missed it by a couple of years. Aaron, you can go.
And they would have various activities. They have talks and they meet regularly. And they're a great bunch of, it's a mixed group of young men and women. So they've got something coming up on a Thursday on the 27th, 7:30 to 10. We've got a speaker coming over at the end of the month on the 28th, and he's written a number of different books, so he's going to be coming over from England to probably launch a book.
Fantastic.
Yes. Manjugosha and emptiness.
And you have the Tuesday night is the
Tuesday night.
The Sangha.
Sangha night.
That's the community night. It's 7:30 to 10 o'clock, the first hour.
It's 9:45 actually. We're out by about 9:45.
Yeah, so the first hour is meditation, and then the second hour is a talk for people that just...
Yes, for the people who have just started to come to the centre. So, and then of course we have the tea break, which is a great opportunity to get to know and get to chat.
Absolutely. I would recommend people though to do maybe the foundation of meditation. Come and do that, and then come on the Sangha night. I've done it the other way around. I just came because I had to be committed. I'm just going to go down and I'll start.
Well, some people do start by just coming down to Sangha night and then signing up for the classes. Some people prefer to get a taste of it before they commit to a 5-week course. So the next round of 5-week courses will be starting in July, the middle of July. So again, if people are interested, if they contact the centre.
Yeah, I would recommend it. It's a brilliant course. I done the metta bhavana one. I thought it was lovely. Yeah. But I think they'll all cover the base of it.
Oh yeah, they do. And of course we have yoga here most days of the week as well. Yeah. There's different yoga teachers here. So,
fantastic.
Yeah. So that's pretty much all that's going on. There's usually lots going on, and we do have a newsletter.
And there's a newsletter, and it's an amazing community and full of sound, beautiful people. Last question, last but not least, what's the one thing you would like people to take away after listening to this interview?
I can talk about Buddhism, I can talk about meditation all day, but really, if you really want to know about it, come try it out for yourself. And that's what I would say, just come try it out. There's no pressure, you can just come for one night, for a few weeks, just see what you think, and then make the decision if it's for you or not. So come see for yourself would be my final words.
I'm not actually surprised that you said that, because I have been down here. I felt it. I felt that attitude. There's no pressure, like whether it be about the chanting, the practices, everything. Practice, give it a go. If you don't want to do it, it's fine. You want to come, cool. If you don't, cool. There's no pressure. It doesn't feel, it's not like a cult or an organised religion. It just feels lovely. Again, that's just probably my perception, but I can vouch for it. I just think it's a lovely place to be. What's your thoughts, Aaron, after being here, never here before? How did you feel? What's it like for you?
It's good, yes. A nice environment, relaxing.
I was saying that to Aaron just before we come in. I'd be interested to see how you feel, because when I come in, the smell, the smell, the people taking your shoes off, like, look at me dodgy stockings. I have 2 odd socks, by the way.
That's right. We have double checked.
Yeah, I should have told you, Aaron, that you had to take your socks off. But yeah, I just loved it, and I just loved the feel. And so.
You know, the taking the shoes off is partly because it's symbolic of leaving outside life outside.
Is it?
So that we're just coming in. Yeah. It's not just about the floors or respect.
I didn't
it's
even.
Also symbolic.
I thought it was respect. I just thought it was just a practice, but I didn't.
There's an element of that too, but actually it's also symbolic.
Yeah. That's lovely.
I just love that, the idea that I'm leaving my troubles of the day in the shoe rack.
Brilliant. Even being in the shoe rack, having the chats with people is lovely. I've met some really interesting people having fascinating conversations. There was a lady in her 70s, and just the stuff we talked about, you would think age that she wouldn't be talking about those things, and I was like, you're a legend.
Oh yeah, there's some pretty amazing people.
Yeah. Right, well, speaking of pretty amazing, you're pretty amazing, and I'm absolutely delighted to have you on the show. Namaste.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Thank you.